I got to break in. I got to interject here because many times during this conversation, you've mentioned they and reptilians. Now, I'm just going to be full transparent here. I'm kind of new to some of this stuff here. So I always approach these subjects. I try to put my open minded cap on. I don't jump into beliefs or anything. I usually prioritize my own experience, weighted against the reality that I'm observing. But I want to hear your side of this. I want to hear about the they, because there's a lot of different views about who's controlling this, who are the they, what's going on behind the scenes, and so it's fascinating to learn about these things. So the only time I ever heard about the reptilian people was probably during like Pizzagate, or related to some like political conspiracy theory. From your perspective, what is your understanding of the they and the reptilians?
I've seen them. I've had them around me for over 20 years. Like I know them. I know them. I can sense them because let me tell you one thing that I haven't spoken in a while, and it's good that I'm saying it here. It came through. Spirit wants this to be known. They actually, usually, they'll take on certain facial features, a little bit more narrow, a little bit more sharp. And then another little thing that you'll notice is they do a lot of things with their tongue or their mouth, especially the tongue. These are little instances you'll see, not just in celebrities, but the ones around you, maybe in life that you pass by occasionally or something you notice. Now, they have an agenda around each being because they want to keep them in a in a certain rational limited state, so then they're serving that system and they are consuming the life force. What does that have in it? Consume, because it's like you're almost under a contract with the conditioning to confine you into the conservation of where you're conserving your true power and giving it to them while you surrender yourself. Instead of God within, you surrender yourself to that satanic system. I don't want to use the word Satan too much because I know it does certain effects with certain beings if they hear it. But I want to tell you that Satan is just the ego. It's just the trickster. It's that reptilian force. Jesus, when he went out many times, especially towards the last few days of his life, he was tempted by the snake to give it all up. Why was it a snake? What species is a snake?
It's a
You see what I'm
lizard.
saying? Reptilian.
Yeah,
Reptilian.
reptilian.
So, have you heard of Kundalini?
Yes.
So Kundalini is a snake wrapping around the spine. This has to do with the wrangling effect that the snake will have when it uses the density that was programmed to you and the environmental atmospheric occurrences that you're surrounded by from when you are a child to now. Because you conform to what they make normal. Do you see each word with CON? I also want to make it very quick for you. CON, when you go in the alphabet and you use the connection between letters and numbers, the order of the letters, CON, C is the third letter in the alphabet, right? So if you use the same format with O and N equals altogether 23, which is 5. It comes down to 5 at the end when you add these numbers up with those three letters, because those letters are the common trend, icon, conditioning, right? I've already said it. I don't need to keep repeating it. So 5, what is 5? In between 1 and 9, it's right in the middle, right? What does that sound a little bit like to y'all? See that line in between both sides of infinity? They're keeping you right. You see how 8 it intersects right here? There's a middle point where it's not two circles, there's a line there. You
Yeah.
see it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is
Connects
right.
it.
It's right at that 4-5 point. Okay? So
Okay.
it would be very wrong if I don't give beings the truth of numbers, because numbers have such a vitality in your connection to the universe. They speak to you through numbers. You hear it about 1111, 444, seeing it on the time. That's the duality in time, is that, yes, they put this construct there. Construct. However, you can get signs from spirit where spirit takes over for a moment and is giving you reminders, preparing you for something bigger, preparing you to widen your range of possibilities to that manifestation, right? So you're not living someone else's script. You start writing your own script. You're not living a scripted, repetitive loop, right? So to get back to the reptilians, they use these energies like numbers, and they use words, and they use a system. And also another thing,
Where do they come from? Where do they
Where do they
come
come from?
from?
That's such a brilliant question. They come from another universe that's not near here. Something happened a long time ago. There was like a vortex essentially, and they slipped into another time. They don't belong here because they don't follow the same laws, energetic laws that we do. I'm not talking about the constitution, the deception. I'm not talking about all of that system. I'm talking about metaphysical laws, universal energy. They don't follow the same thing. They have to obey certain levels of the law of balance, where we have to see obvious gestures that they do, obvious moments where they are changing form in front of you, which are out there. There's so many examples, and they want you to think, oh, that's just an error in the technology. No, I'm promising you, from spirit, from the physical plane, everywhere, this is purposeful, because it's a moment to give you a possibility of awakening, so you can see there's something going on here, right? When you mentioned the movie The Matrix, and I love the fact that y'all are into movies because it's all in the movies. In The Matrix, the agent,
Yeah.
he can go into any individual. We would also refer to it the way I teach it in my videos and my book, anything. I'm always referring to that world how it's an illusion. That those people you see, most of them are NPCs, right? So he can take over easily. He slips in from wherever. That's that reptilian presence. You can refer to it as Satan. You can refer to it as the part of yourself, the ego that wants to keep you in the illusion. There's so many spiritual ways of looking at it. And I don't want to make it so biased into one teaching and you have to follow this. And one more thing I want to put in here. Jesus never wanted them to only depend on him. They altered these words as a formula to control through religion. He had a saying. He would say, when people would witness his miracles, he's just channeling it. The same thing any awakened being does, the same thing that I do with my sessions. And even right now, I'm just channeling from source. I always say each day, Father, speak through me. You have speak through me. This is your life. Live it as your own. And someone could say, well, how do you know you're not surrendering yourself to something dark? You hear sometimes they say about channeling. The thing about that is, as long as you're very self-aware and you can sense energy, you've opened these senses, right? To intertwine it with what I said about a baby earlier, the babies, they have their senses. They haven't had the disconnect from spirit yet. So they're very open to sensing energy. So they sense all the things in the environment, how certain things are um, unnatural. Certain things are so disconnected. They're not used to it because they're coming from source more than likely, or another life, another dimension where things are not limited. Because we have to get out of the third dimension. The reptilians, they only can do this in the third dimension because when you shift out of that constructed density of time, then you shift the paradigm. The paradigm, you're no longer living under they're not dictating your life anymore once you get out of that. And then you start to ascend to the fifth dimension, but there's infinite dimensions. Don't put a limit on anything. No one should. If anyone puts a limitation on your evolution, send it away. God will never limit you. As long as what you're creating is, like I said earlier when you were talking, I mentioned quickly, integrity. As long as it's in integrity, what you're creating, you're manifesting, you're writing, you're affirming. Like what I did, what I'm speaking now, is anything causing harm to anyone? Is anything taking away from anyone? No, it's giving. That's the abundance. The abundance is shifting everyone out of limitation and into boundless existence where all the timelines exist. It's so surreal because it all exists. That's what dreams are. Dreams are just, you're shifting into a timeline. More than likely, sometimes the reptilians can place an implanted dream, putting fear. That's what a nightmare typically is, where you are susceptible to more programming in the dream, right? To not make you feel more ethereal energy, to raise your vibration, but to actually do the opposite, which is to make you more dense, constricted in fear, because you have to overcome fear. The main thing as a human, actually, in this human experiment, all the beings in many dimensions are watching what's happening right now, because the humans have the ability to do something that's never been done before. It's never been done before in the history of any universe. And history is not what they've taught. It's all false history. They took out about Atlantis, all the other civilizations, all the truth about like what Jesus spoke. It's all connected about in religion, history, what they show. Um, there is an agenda, and it's very obvious once you see it. And then you'll be able to see the contrast once you come back into that truth. And that's where you manifest from. And that's where the reptilians are afraid of you reaching, because their vibratory rate cannot carry the substance of you leaving a more dense, limited form. Once you get out of the idea that you're the body, then you're in transcendence. That illumination, it takes you to levels that they can no longer do this. They're here and you're doing this. And then sometimes you might do this. That's the oscillation effect. Sometimes you might go back and but that's the shadows you're overcoming, the illusion, the implants. You get past it and it's a trajectory. I witness it every day of my life. So I know from experience, I'm not speaking to you intellectually. I'm speaking to you experientially. Then I'm integrating intellect. Right?
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
From your perspective, is the source of all of us? I will put it this way: is it non-duality? Do you believe in non-duality? Meaning, like, do you think it's all one thing going on right now?
Yes. Yes.
So then, me and you are the same thing.
I wouldn't use the word thing. I would say,
well, whatever it is, one source,
one consciousness. Because what do we share?
So, but that's what I'm saying from the non-dual perspective. Like me and you, essentially, are the same thing, but we're distinct in the way we perceive each other. You know, like our opinions vary, the way we think varies, our abilities and our skills and our knowledge all varies. Is there any people that you could point out that are lizard people that would be shocking for everyone to know about?
Oh man, I try not to name names.
Well, is there any popular ones where it's like, oh, the people that know who the lizard people are all know this guy?
90% of the ones that run countries. Trying to keep it very vague, but that's pretty direct. 90%. I don't ever name names for reasons, but
now, do you mean literally lizard people?
Yes.
Like so are they wearing a mask, or have they distorted their appearance to the rest of the world somehow?
Both.
Like I meant with like some kind of metaphysical.
I wanted to say, are they like supernatural beings, or are they physical beings, or are they both?
They are much less than humans, but they have humans thinking they have all the power because they are inducing humans into fear. So I don't know if you've heard about the chemical that they take from humans as sustenance when the most high point of fear and the things
adrenal gland or adrenochrome or whatever.
Correct. And there's other things we don't know about currently.
But they're us. But they're us.
They're also clones.
But if everything's one thing, then
yes.
Our worst enemies are really us.
Correct. To an extent, because it's a part of yourself that's here, you have to wake up. So that's the duality effect. That's the beauty in duality. I don't want anyone to reject duality. I need to make this clear. There is a beauty in duality. There's a beauty in being human, because the thing is, everyone has their purpose. Everyone has their creation. You have to come into alignment with that. However, these lower forces, they represent the old self, the old paradigm, the generational karma we're healing, the greed. What happened to Atlantis was they had all the psychic abilities. They didn't need phones. They created species. Like, this is where, I'm sure you've heard about mermaids. This is where it came from. Also, what is half horse, half human? Have you heard about this?
Centaur.
Correct. This is all from Atlantis, and their karma was because they started creating these species, and there's a lot of darker things that happen we don't know about. I've seen through remote viewing, through experiencing, through connecting. They did a lot of things with greed, with false entertainment, distraction, dark mind. That density created a karmic effect in the last 10,000 years or so on humans, to where the abilities were nullified, because the universe has to wake back up to realize its true purpose here within everyone, not to be used for greed, not to be used for violence. Why is there so much programming in the music videos and the movies with violence? We have to become very hyper aware of this. It's purposeful. That's the industry. That's the paradigm. That's the agenda. Because violence, death, like not ego death or freedom, but like the fear of death, fear itself, greed, these are all into the lower chakra, The chakras are aligned on that spine. I told you earlier about the spine with the snake wrapping around it. The chakras are aligned with it. That wants to control you, keep you in the red, keep you dead. The red is the root chakra, the lowest chakra, correct? What else is that? Blood. That's why when you see blood in movies and you're seeing consumption, the way people are lost in loops, this is because it's all to keep you to the lower plane as dense as possible. What you consume, not just food, but what you take on visually, energetically, mentally, emotionally, all to be as dense as possible. Because why? That makes you very heavy, unconscious. So the more you're dense, the more disconnected you're going to be, especially if you're not fully focused on spirit all the time, which makes you what?
Do things, buy things.
Correct. It makes you susceptible to be weakened on the weekend. To go on the weekend and go out, and what do they do on the weekend?
Drink, party,
and
eat.
guess who created alcohol?
The lizard people.
Correct.